The battle for FAMU's 2025 starting quarterback has become crystal clear now that one man has stepped aside. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now, of course, I'm Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current site expert at Who Dat Dish and contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you to everybody who said congratulations on social media. I genuinely do appreciate it. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We'll wrap up today's episode with a look at South Carolina State taking I would say one of the better moves they could in going in a new direction for their women's basketball team. In segment 2, speaking of women's basketball, Diamond Johnson is with the Minnesota Lynx now, and she is describing her transition as well as holding on strong to her HBCU identity. But I want to kick this thing off with Florida A&M, those good old Rattlers out in Tallahassee, because with one move, I believe that their quarterback battle has become crystal clear. I did have a topic on FAMU's quarterback situation last week, and it's funny because what I'm going to be talking about in the week of May 5th, shout out Big 5 Day, guys. Shout out Cinco de Mayo if you celebrate. Anywho, but what I am going to be talking about in the week of May 5th, it's kind of similar to what I spoke about last week, because you're going to have a conversation around Jackson State's wide receiver room. We're going to talk about that probably on Wednesday. Today, we're going to revisit our Florida A&M quarterback competition or conversation and why it is truly a competition. Because last week, I just mentioned CJ Montes, but I didn't mention Tyler Jefferson. And the subtraction of Junior Muratovic is what really brought this conversation to focus for me. And I know I just threw a lot of names out there. So let me tell you why the subtraction of Junior Muratovic is going to be what really puts the quarterback battle in crystal clear focus. Now, let's take it back. Junior backed up Daniel Richardson last year. He backed up Jeremy Musa the years prior to that. And he backed up Rashawn McKay the years before that. So what I see is a career backup at FAMU. And I know we don't typically talk about collegiate quarterbacks as being career backups, but that's what Junior Muratovic has been. He has been a career backup at Tallahassee. Every time one quarterback leaves, they bring another one out of the transfer portal. McKay leaves, they say, let's go get that Musa guy. Musa leaves, let's go get Richardson. Richardson, let's go get Tyler Jefferson. As a matter of fact, while we're at it, we're also going to get CJ Montes. So at what point does Junior Muratovic say, I'm done. I'm out the door? In my opinion, he clearly loves his school. He clearly stayed every chance he could. Every step of the way, he's waiting to get the blessing that this is his chance, but he can only wait so long, literally. He's going to run out of eligibility. So why would he leave unless the coaches told him, you're not getting this starting job? Or he just saw the writing on the wall and it was abundantly clear that he was not going to be the starting quarterback. I don't know if many people really expected to see Junior start this year, but the competitor within him had to assume I have a chance until you don't. And I don't think that you leave unless you know you don't have a chance. If you have another reason on why Junior Muratovic could have entered the portal, let me know. Because the way I view it is that he shows up with McKay. Cool. They bring in another guy, Musa, right after McKay. Even that's understandable. But after Musa was here for 2 years, don't bring anybody else in. This is supposed to be my turn. But it wasn't. It was Daniel Richardson's turn. And I still stayed. Now, this is not to say, if I stay all of this time, you should hand me the job. It's time to say, Eventually, my opportunity is supposed to roll around. And if I'm not getting this opportunity, at what point will I while I'm here? Every chance they get, they're bringing in a new quarterback. They're never satisfied with me. Anyway, point being, even when they bring in Tyler Jefferson, he doesn't leave. But the moment they bring in CJ Montes, Junior Muratovic says, I'm chunking up the deuces. That don't mean anything to y'all. It means a lot to me. Need I go through his backstory again? McKay, cool. You get there, he's already started. You take that. Musa, you ain't been there long. I get it. But at this point, you a tried and true vet once Musa leaves. I wouldn't even have wanted Daniel Richardson to take my place. So now, when Daniel Richardson comes to Tallahassee, if I'm Junior, I'm looking for other options. But fine, you stick through there. This is the year that it has to be you. And the only reason you leave if you know it's not you. And you didn't leave when Tyler Jefferson. You was cool competing there. They bring in CJ Montes. You dip. Why? Because the quarterback battle at Florida A&M is CJ Montes versus Tyler Jefferson. It's simple. It's simple. It was clear. Maybe you felt like I'm number 2 and I can fight my way to 1. Maybe that's what Junior felt like. Maybe you felt like with Tyler Jefferson there, I was fighting an uphill battle, but I was 2 and I only had to jump 1 guy to become the starter. But now once you introduce this new variable, this new splash, I no longer have to jump 1. I have to jump 2, and that's way too much to do over the course of the summer. Here's the thing. They always say the grass is greener on the other side. But if my grass ain't green, what's the difference? He goes somewhere else and he's a backup again. Worst case scenario, right? So now that I look at CJ Montes and Tyler Jefferson as being the battle, what now? Because I think that Jefferson should be concerned as well. Junior Muratovic is out. He's gone. And I know there's other quarterbacks in the room who may have something to say, but the way that I view it is Tyler Jefferson, splash. CJ Montes, splash. These are 2 big-time additions in the quarterback room. It only makes sense over the course of the summer for them to go head-to-head as the starting quarterback of FAMU. Whoever wins that battle should lead the Rattlers into the battle. That's the way that I look at it, right? But at the same time, Tyler Jefferson should be concerned because he was there first. It does give him a good advantage, and I'll go through the pros and cons for each guy. But Tyler Jefferson came into FAMU in the spring. He went through spring practice. He did everything, and they still brought in CJ Montes. Now, you can only have 1 quarterback on the field. Is it smart to prepare for if that quarterback goes down with injury? Yes, but you don't typically bring in a splash recruit. And in my opinion, grabbing CJ Montes from Fordham after what he did in 2023 prior to the injury is a splash. You don't go do that if you're satisfied with your quarterback play. That's me. Let's go through this. See, iron sharpens iron, right? Competition is good for getting the best person on the field. So I'm never going to knock that. I hope I don't come off critical of the coaches. But what I will say is, if I go through the entirety of the spring and then I bring a quarterback in, it's much different than if I brought those 2 quarterbacks in at the same time and said, let's battle it out. See, if Montes and Jefferson both come in on National Signing Day, they both go through spring practice, it just looks like competition. If Montes and Jefferson both are signed in February and they go through the spring, it's just competition. But if you sign Jefferson in the spring, he goes through spring practice, and then you bring in Montes after spring practice, to me, at the quarterback position, that sends off signals. I'm at least still keeping my options open. I'm not completely satisfied. We're not completely sure if you are the quarterback. Jefferson, you may be that guy, but I'm not sure, and I don't have time to be wrong about you. If I'm going to be wrong, I need to at least have you beat out this guy. That's the way I view it. It's different. 2 guys come in the spring. That's competition. They were brought in at the same time. They're going head to head. I brought in another quarterback after I already saw Jefferson. And it's not just a quarterback who is, young guy. He can be around. This is CJ Montes, who was a really, really talented quarterback in his 1 year at Fordham where he stayed healthy. This is a guy you bring in to start. Jefferson is a guy you bring in to start. So who has the leg up where? I would say that Montes has the leg up in the sense of proof of concept. proof of concept definitely leans in favor of Montes because he did it at Fordham. He was top 10 in completions, top 10 in passing yards per game, top 10 in touchdowns in the country. He was second team All Patriot League. He was a guy who was a preseason All American coming off of that game. So he has the proof of concept. If you want to see how does a player play at the FCS level between Jefferson and Montes, the only guy you can really look at is Montes in 2023 when he was great for Fordham. Of course, you have the question, how did the injury affect him? And you probably won't know that until the summer comes. But as it stands right now, you might not even know that until the fall comes, to be honest. But as it stands right now, that is his biggest advantage, proof of concept. But when you look at Tyler Jefferson, I would say his biggest advantage is the fact that he's been at FAMU. He has chemistry with the players. He has a strong understanding of the playbook already, or at least he should have. It's proof of concept is still concept. Even if it worked over here, right? Like coaches bring things that worked at their previous schools, at their previous teams, and they hope that it applies here. It's still a concept until it actually happens. When it comes to Tyler Jefferson, he's shown what he is at FAMU. That could be good. That could be bad. It all depends on how the coaches view what he put on tape. But for me, also, I'm not really sweating this idea that, oh, well, Jefferson didn't play well at New Mexico. Or no, it wasn't New Mexico. It was Central Michigan, excuse me. I'm okay with that because Montes didn't play well at New Mexico. Right? Like, so what you did on the FBS level doesn't matter to me. But here's the thing. When it comes to the quarterback battle, it's Tyler Jefferson versus CJ Montes. I think that they are both splash recruits for FAMU. They are both guys who are brought in specifically to be the starting quarterback for the Rattlers. I think that Montes has the lead right now as far as what I think will happen because, number one, we saw a whole spring practice that was Jefferson, and they still decided to bring in CJ. To me, that tells me we're not completely sold here. We're not out on you. It doesn't mean that you're getting the boot, but we're not completely sold. So the door is open for CJ clearly. The second thing is I've seen him do it on the FCS level. I would say that's the secondary reason, which is why I named the second. First off is the timing tells me that FAMU is still looking for a starter, and they view him as that. Secondly, I've actually seen him. This is just the reason they view him as a starter. Top 10 in completions per game, top 10 in yards per game, top 10 in touchdowns. He was all of that in the country in the 1 year on the FCS level that he was healthy. The only question is CJ Montes the same player after the injury? We'll see. We will see. I expect to see these two guys battling it out, but I do think that Montes is the guy I think they're leaning towards, or they think will be the guy. Summer, I have to decide it, though. Summer will have to decide it. Now, as we push forward, we're going to look at Diamond Johnson, who is in a very similar situation of trying to prove herself as an undrafted rookie. She's going to try to make it on to the Minnesota Lynx, and she breaks down her WNBA transition as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. Listen, I understand if you're a worker, you want to get the supplies that you need from the site made for skilled trades. And if that's what you desire, go to Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, doesn't matter. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 40 of the top brands, you'll find exactly what it is that you need delivered fast. And go ahead and take advantage of the Trade Master program, which is free. It offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day. Every day for your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA. It was the Warriors versus the Rockets. You had the Pacers versus the Cavs. Did the team that you thought would win come out with a victory? How did it all happen? Will be broken down on Locked On NBA, as well as the games that are about to happen right now. So you guys want to make sure that you're tuning in for all of that. Diamond Johnson is going to the WNBA. She's trying to make her transition. And I think we all remember the conversations that we had around Johnson. Was that a month ago? Was that a month ago? Feels like it. Feels like it was the beginning of April, end of March. But the WNBA draft came and went, and we didn't hear another HBCU name called. And I think a lot of us were surprised by that. A lot of us thought that Diamond Johnson was going to hear her name called. And though she didn't, she was still able to make it to a roster. She was still able to make it to a training camp. It's probably the more specific or the more accurate way to phrase that, because she's trying to fight her way to make it onto a roster. She had a little bit of media availability in which she discussed her transition from Norfolk State to the Minnesota Lynx. And I thought that she had some really good quotes in there. I actually really loved this short 5-minute interview. It doesn't take long. If you haven't heard it already, you should definitely go check it out. But she talked about a few things, such as her personal transition, what Minnesota is looking for, and then also she spoke to HBCU pride. You know, we're going to talk about the latter the most, but we are going to keep it at the latter. For Johnson, it sounds like most of the change is mental. Over everything else, it is a mental change. I've never really, I've never played football on that level. I never played football on the collegiate level. So I can't sit here and act like I know what sports are like when you transition. My transition was middle school to high school. But for me, I always thought that the athleticism, the speed, those are things that you hear. Windows close quickly, right? And I understand that football and basketball are two different sports, so I don't think it's apples to apples. But at the same time, you're looking at a athletic gap of professional athletes versus collegiate athletes. Those guys, those girls who couldn't make it on the college level, they've been weeded out. Even the stars who were good, but they weren't great, they've been weeded out. So I thought it would have been a talent level that Diamond Johnson would point out, but it wasn't. It was more so just a different environment of doing the same thing. She talked about how they're not asking her to do anything new. It's just doing it at this level. She's still having to be picked up full court. She's still picking up full court. She's still having to remember all the plays. She's still having to know where everybody's supposed to be, instruct the players. She's a point guard. And what makes the mental hurdles such a prominent thing for Johnson is that, or I don't want to say hurdles, the mental, everything I say sounds like a difficulty, and it's not what I'm trying to say. The mental jump, the mental side of the game. What makes the mental side of the game so interesting for Johnson is that she's a point guard. It makes it more important because she has to. That position right there is already cerebral. That position right there is already something that you have to do a lot of thinking for at every single level. She also pointed that out. She said, listen, it's a lot, but we played point guard our whole life. So I know exactly, we all know exactly what to do. It's just about doing it at the WNBA level. And it just seems like it's a mental thing, both mental of, all right, these are the plays, but then the other mental side of this, excuse me, the other mental side of this is, look, I'm in the WNBA now. I've been waiting for this my entire life. This is what I've always wanted to do. And now I'm here. The mental pressures of it. It's all mental though. It's not necessarily anything she mentioned of, hey, well, these people are more physical. These people are faster. These people are, it's just the mental side of understanding what she needs to do. And maybe she'll see something different when she gets into the game. The Lynx have their first preseason game on Wednesday. No, I think it's Tuesday the 6th. So they play against the Chicago Sky in a preseason game. And they said that the Lynx are known for having a real tough training camp, apparently. She said, listen, it's mostly learning the terminology and not having the coaches need to be repetitive. That's mental. That's mental. That was the biggest obstacle that she mentioned. Like everything else she mentioned, she was just like, this is what training camp's preparing me for all of this. This is what we're doing. But as far as the only thing that sounded like it was even potentially an obstacle was the terminology of, look, I have to learn the terminology as fast as I can because people call different things different stuff, right? Like what maybe Rip and Liz to me might be something completely different. what may be shade this way, maybe help defense. It may be different wording, but it's the same principle. And I think that that's sometimes where people get lost. Sometimes they struggle with trying to figure out what the new terminology means and trying to get a grip on what to how to internalize these things, because I'm so used to calling Rip and Liz that I can't make sense when it's called right left or something as silly as that. I couldn't think of two R and L words right then, so I just went right and left. But those are the type of mental things that she's talking about. And I hope that she's doing a great job, because I think she deserves it. The last thing that she discussed was being an HBCU representative. And she spoke about the general notion that they could find you anywhere. But what I liked about it is that she didn't stop at that. So many people say, hey, if you're good, they'll find you. And they say it with these rose colored glasses, this whole ideal situation. I think it's unrealistic. And I think when they don't find you, it sets up of you just weren't good enough. I don't think that that's true. Number one, that's not what she's speaking to, but that's just my personal opinion. The idea that if you're good, they'll find you, I do not agree with. Now, if you're great, if you're undeniable, they'll find you. But most people in life just aren't undeniable. Most people need somebody to point them out. I can't remember who it was. It was Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie had a great point. There's people who are more talented than me. There's people that are more talented than the people he was talking to. People who are more talented than him. But somebody picked you and said, that guy. I thought that was a great quote. And I think that could be said for so many small school athletes. Everybody is not undeniable. Most people just have to be picked. There are a lot of people who are talented, but they don't get the selection. They don't get the point. They don't get that guy, that girl. So anyway, what Diamond Johnson said is, yes, they'll find you anywhere, but if you're going to go to an HBCU, you got to dominate. And I just appreciated telling the real of it. Because the real of it is, you are a great player, but you got to go in there. You have to play certain teams. You have to dominate your opponents. She talked about it from a real Norfolk State standpoint, talking about their scheduling, talking about how much they beat players or beat teams by. But the truth is, she did all of that, and they didn't find her to call her name. They didn't find her to put her on a training camp roster, and we'll see what comes from it. But the truth of the matter is, it's going to take a lot more. Be ready for it. She said, do you, be you. I just think it's important to say, if you're going to choose this path, if you're going to choose the harder route, let's choose the harder route with understanding that we are picking the harder route. I appreciated that so much, because I think sometimes people are afraid to say that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think people are afraid to acknowledge that going to an HBCU in professional athletics, or the attempt to get to professional athletics rather, it is the harder route. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means be prepared for what you're stepping into. Scouts are going to overlook you. Scouts are going to question your production, because they don't care about who you produce against. They don't care for who you produce against, I should say, right? Like, this is the harder route, but you can make it. If you're good, they'll find you. It's not the same as you can make it. I like you can make it way more, because when you're good, they'll find you. It insinuates that they'll find anybody who's good. They don't. They don't. They do not give everybody who's good a chance in the NFL, WNBA, NBA. That just is not true. There's not enough spots for that. But you can make it. Just understand it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to do a little bit more. Should be prepared. But yeah, you can make it. So feel free to go that way. Anyway, as we push forward, I want to briefly talk about the South Carolina State team and why they need a new lead in women's basketball, and they're getting it as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever looked at your bank account and said, well, where'd all my money go? Where did it all go? I swear I had the change. I swear everything was good. Sometimes dining out, entertainment, shopping, it can be easy to lose track, especially with online shopping. You're not even thinking about that for real. It can be very easy to lose track of what you're doing. And that's why Monarch Money is here to help you. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all of your accounts. And here's the thing that I love. You don't have to worry about going to an app for this and an app for that and an app for this and an app for that. You have 4, 5, 7 million apps to discover what you're doing financially when all you needed was Monarch Money. Save your phone some space, save yourself some time, make it easier on you. Just go to Monarch Money, and that's easy for me. You can do it on your laptop. You can get the app. Doesn't matter. Go to monarchmoney.com. Take control of your finances. Take control of your finances. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for 15 or 50% off your first year. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. Woo-wee! We're wrapping up today's episode with the fact is South Carolina State is way more gracious than I am because I'm not ready to be in these type of positions, because if you're getting fired, you're getting fired. And I think that's what happened to Tim Eaton. But South Carolina State and Buddy Pugh are nice. They're gentlemen. They're good people, because they allow Eatman to say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna bow out. I'm going to go ahead and resign. The truth of the matter is South Carolina State was in need of a culture shift. You don't get to win 7 games in 3 years and act like you just wanted to step away. You had to. And the timing of how everything is happening tells me that he knew he had to as well. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. It's not the first time, won't be the last time. But this is pure speculation. I think that they told him to get to stepping. Rightfully so. When you look at the last 3 years, 3-27, 2-28, 2-29. They announced his resignation on Friday, and on Friday they announced that they'll be announcing a new coach on Tuesday. So as soon as he resigned, and let me not put too much focus on it, because the truth of the matter is whether or not he resigned is not the important part. It isn't. The important part is that South Carolina State is getting the culture shift that they need. But if he resigns on Friday and you announce that you're getting a new coach on Friday, you know it's all going to happen. It tells me that either you told him get to step in and now we find a new coach, or he let you know well in advance that he was going to leave. I'm leaning towards the former, because let me read his record again. I said that this all happened under Tim Eaton. This was all that Eaton did. He only had 3 seasons. So in those 3 seasons, he had 2 wins last year against Delaware State, 1 win, and then out of conference win, the other one. In 2024, he had 2 wins, an out of conference win, and 1 against Delaware State. In 2023, he had 3 wins, 1 out of conference, and then 2 against Coppin State. So now you look at that. First off, in 2025, Delaware State only won 1 game, and it was against South Carolina State. They split the season series, and those are the only games that either one of those teams won. That's number 1. That's pitiful. Y'all both 1-13 in conference. Both 1-13 in conference. Garbage. 2024, still just Delaware State. Then you beat Coppin twice, so you couldn't really beat anybody, but you did get them twice, you know. But in general, look, you start off with 3 wins in your first year. Maybe you can accept some of that. Maybe you can accept some of that. But the truth of the matter is that's not going to satisfy anybody for more than just that first. It didn't even satisfy you the first year. You just said, all right, I'll accept it. It is what it is. And then it continued to be that. That's the problem. You win 3 games in the first year. It is what it is until year 2 and 3. And it's the same exact script. Matter of fact, you actually take a step back. You actually take a step back to being a 2-win team. It's time to go. It's time for a new coach. Those are your 3 years. 7 wins. That's what you have to your name. 7 wins. You probably have 3-27. Oh, there go the numbers. 27, 28, 29. You're looking at what? 55, 84 losses to 7 wins. That's over 10 times. That's 12 times. That's 12 times as many losses as victories. It's time for a culture change. And South Carolina State is getting that this week on Tuesday afternoon. So Wednesday we'll come back in and we'll talk about who the new coach is. But it was time. Ladies and gentlemen, it was time. Needed a shift. And I agree with Buddy Pugh. Wish him. I was about to say. I don't appreciate his efforts. I don't know. The comment was, I appreciate Coach Eatman for his efforts at South Carolina State on and off the court. I do appreciate him for what he did off the court, whatever that was. And I do wish him and his family the best in the future. But it was time to move on. And sometimes it's just that moment. So South Carolina State will get new leadership. It's time to get better. They haven't been that good in basketball, women's basketball, for a while. So we'll see what happens there. Tuesday afternoon, we'll get our answer. On tomorrow, we'll talk about South Carolina State. Unfortunately, another negative way, but they're completely overhauling their passing attack with everybody leaving. So let's break that down on tomorrow's episode. Hey, it's okay though. I trust Chinnisberry. So in the meantime, in between time, until next time we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.